CNBC TV 18 Weekender.
Hello guys and welcome to the CNBC TV 18 Weekender. Our guest today is a truly global Indian who's worked across continents, and at the young age of 31 he started his own firm and has since then struck many multi-million-dollar deals. He created history when he was elected the first Indian to be the president of the prestigious Harvard Business School. The founder of Xander Group is our guest on this edition of The Weekender. Thank you so much for joining us on The Weekender, Sid. Very nice to have you.
It's my pleasure.
We're at BENGALURU. Tell us more about this place. I saw PVR here, I saw some fine dining restaurants, different cuisines. What is the USP of this place? We believe this is a community-centric retail space you're trying to create.
Well, it's a microcosm of the city of Bengaluru, and it's in Whitefield, so it's also a microcosm of the heritage and the community of Whitefield itself. So the way that VR creates and designs its centers is basically taking into account the history and heritage of the community it's sitting in, and then trying to weave that into both the architectural design and the programming. So, of course, there's a lot of retail and a lot of F&B, but there's a lot of other stuff. There is the Whitefield Arms, which is a throw to the heritage of Whitefield, the Waverley Inn, Churchill coming here and courting the innkeeper's daughter, Rose Hamilton. So we have all of that. We have suites and residences, which are actually called the Waverley, as an ode to the inn that existed here, still exists as a private residence. But that is very much part of the integrated community. Then there's the Hive, which is the collaborative workspaces. This is the entrepreneurial hub of India. Whitefield within Bengaluru is the largest sort of entrepreneurial center. So there's a lot more than just retail, but I think the idea really is that to create a space that reflects the aspirations of the community that it sits in, that reflects both the history and the future that may be, and it's our ode to the city of Bengaluru, to Whitefield, and we've tried our best to weave those sometimes disparate strands, but when they come together it's quite special. So here we are.
So this is the Bangalore VR retail. You have one in Surat. Which are the other cities you're looking to expand in? What are your investments plans for VR retail specifically?
Sure. So as you said, we opened one in Surat a couple of years ago. This one just soft launched a few months ago, and Chennai, which has been under development for the last couple of years, which is in Anna Nagar, heart of the city, double the size of VR Bengaluru at 2 million square feet. So that we're going to open next year, second half of next year. And then we are continuously looking for other locations, other cities. We have two joint ventures, one in Pune, one in the city of Bangalore, but on the other side of the city, in the western part, in Kanakpura. So those two will open in the next couple of years as well. They're under construction already. In fact, Pune I think opens next year as well, and Kanakpura will open the year after. And we are actively looking for new communities to be part of, whether it's in Delhi or Bombay or Hyderabad or Calcutta. We have a project in Calcutta which has been delayed for reasons other than our ability to get it done. So we hope that that will also take off soon under the new government. But we're very excited.
You've invested about 600 million in equity at the start of this project. I mean, this retail space is hard to make money in. This has been a tough space to work in India. And of the 600, 700 odd malls in the country, I mean, a handful would have broken even. What drives this optimism for you, where many have come and burnt their hands? Why are you so bullish?
So I think there are a couple of things. Firstly, we are not in the mall business, right? We are in creating experiences business.
Right.
So that's a big difference between how, this big umbrella thing of shopping malls is I don't actually agree with it. It doesn't resonate with me. I think we're in the business of creating experiences. I think globally people who are designing, developing and owning retail centers need to move towards curating experiences rather than just offering shopping. Most of those shopping centers that you mentioned are nothing but taking traditional high street retail and putting it in an air-conditioned environment.
Yeah.
That's not what we are trying to do here, right? A. B, a lot of them are strata sold because not for any other reason but for the lack of permanent financing in India at the moment. So developers don't have a choice, but they have to strata sell to finance their properties.
Correct,
or
especially the lack of banks coming forward.
That's right, but that doesn't really work with this kind of a community approach because you really need all of it to hang together. And 3, you need to get the location right.
There is 2 billion of investment work that you put in India.
So Xander as a company, as a group, has multiple businesses, right? One part of our business is the private equity business. The other side are the opportunistic funds where we raise a pool of capital which has multiple investors in it, designed to invest opportunistically across the geography of India and across asset class in primarily real estate, but we have done infrastructure as well. So we own 2 of the largest toll road portfolios in the country. In the retail business, we have a bunch of investments, Virtuous Retail being our largest platform, and then we've made some other investments in entertainment formats like Kidzania, for example.
What are the exits you're looking at during the course of this year or next year? Anything in the near future from what
Sure. So at any given point in time, everything we own is for sale. That's just the nature of our business, right? What does that mean? That means it's for sale at the right price. I think if we believe that something is fully priced from a risk-return matrix, we will put it up for sale. We often get unsolicited inquiries for sale of assets that we own because some of our investments and many of our assets are very special and have done rather well. We've had over the last many years many exits and most of them, actually all of them but one, has been profitable.
Which is this one investment that hasn't?
Ooh, you're picking up, huh?
No.
That's just from a regulatory reason. The project became a size that was not FDI compliant anymore. So we had to stop investing in the project because the rules changed.
Right.
We were outside the city limits, so the different rules applied, and then the city limits were redefined. So we ended up becoming inside the city limits, and then we couldn't invest anymore. So we had to exit without actually creating the asset.
Is REITs a logical step? I mean, next step you would be looking at to exit some of your investments?
I think REITs are always a potential opportunity. In India, obviously the government has made some strides towards enabling REIT law. The finance minister in this budget also created some additional incentives, but I think there are some issues still to be worked out. However, as an institutional investor and our Asia business is headquartered out of Singapore, we could also look at a Singapore REIT listing.
Okay.
So it's not just about listing in India.
Is there a REIT listing that is on the cards in the near term?
Could be. The market conditions need to be appropriate, the nature of assets needs to be right, there are qualifications in every REIT market for meeting particular conditions. So right now may not be the most conducive time to list in a REIT.
At a listing, it would not be in India, it would probably be in Singapore.
No, I didn't. It could be in India. It could also be just an IPO in India because there are different businesses. In fact, last year one of our portfolio companies IPO'd, which was one of the toll road companies. So they had a very successful IPO in tough market conditions, and we were very pleased with both the management and our investment.
Is there another IPO on the cards for the other toll business you're in? Or
if there was, I'm not allowed to talk about it, am I?
Okay, also, you know, talking about private equity, you have a big play here. Many people have come and burned their fingers, as I mentioned earlier. What are you doing differently? What is your secret sauce? Is it your contrarian bets really that have, you know, played off well here?
So to keep it secret, I shouldn't be talking about it. But here are a couple of things that I can actually mention to you. The first being that I think a lot of private equity players have complained about having burnt their fingers.
Yes.
My humble submission is you can't be a long distance investor in India. This is a tough market by any stretch of imagination. It's a tough market to execute in because of all the issues and hurdles that we all know about. The government's trying to do a lot to try and ease some of that. I think ease of doing business is something that the government has been focused on, but also just executing on any plan, rolling out something. It's all very well to have a business plan, but can you actually get on the ground and execute it, right? And I think a lot of investors have tried to approach India being passive investors from a long distance. I think that strategy, in my humble opinion, doesn't work at this point in time for the evolution of this, in where we are in the evolution of this market. Capital should not be the only reason to be in this business.
All right, on that note, we'll take a quick break, but we'll come back with more interesting trivia from your college where you've created some history, I believe. We'll be right back. Please stay tuned. I was surprised when you made the president of Harvard Business School.
Oh, I was surprised. I was like, who would elect me? Why?
CNBC TV 18 Weekender. CNBC TV 18 Weekender.
Welcome back. We're at the Whitefield Arms, a British pub at Bengaluru, and we continue our conversation with Siddharth Yog, the founder of Xander Group. Siddharth, your career spanned multiple organizations across multiple countries. Then you decided to quit, join college, come back, start your own firm at a very young age. Were you apprehensive at the start, or was this always your true calling, private equity investments in real estate?
So, firstly, I don't think I've worked in multiple organizations. I think I've worked in probably all of two, with brief stints at two others. But I was at CBRE for, I think, almost 9 years. In India, of course, helping them set up the business here. Yeah. But then moved in 1999, I think, to Singapore and then to Hong Kong, helping set up a strategy consulting practice for them for Asia Pacific, which I did for 3.5 years. And then I had brief stints which were more like summer training while I was at business school. I call it summer training, but it's really an internship, or trying to experiment with things that you might want to do and don't necessarily want to do full time. But ended up obviously back in the strategy consulting field, and then decided that that wasn't really for me because I loved real estate too much and all its associated businesses. And I think why I love real estate so much is because it brings people together, right? The buildings that shape us, we shape them first and then they end up shaping us. And that's always been a passion. And so I think this was my calling. I mean, whether at CBRE I was on the advisory part of the real estate business, and now I'm on the principal investing part.
You said you live out of suitcases earlier when we were talking. You work
I said I live out of a trolley and a haversack, not even a suitcase.
You spend part of your 4 months actually teaching. You spend part of it in Asia. You live in Boston. But you obviously have strong Indian connects. You grew up in Lucknow. You went to college in Delhi. Have you ever thought of moving back here?
So, I am back. I mean, so the physicality of one's existence is kind of, driven by the opportunities, the interests, the passions, the ideas, the people that you work with, interact with, want to spend time with, and the things you want to spend time on. India, to me, is a civilizational idea. It's not a physical idea, right? It is, of course, a physical idea as well. But the civilizational idea of India I carry in my head. I'm a very proud Indian, and I always will be. But I think I'm also straddling multiple continents and multiple geographies in doing the things I want to do. So I want to teach. I teach at Harvard Business School. I'm involved in an educational venture in Delhi at the Ashoka University. I serve on the board of the American Repertoire Theatre in Cambridge, Massachusetts. I couldn't do that sitting in one place. So the trade-off that you make, if it is a trade-off, I don't think of it as such, is that you have to travel, because, as I said, you have to show up, you have to be there.
So while you're straddling across the world, this trade-off that you're making, constantly living out of a suitcase, is that one of the reasons why you remain an eligible bachelor?
I guess until I find somebody who is willing to kind of embark on this journey together with me, of being in a different city every week, perhaps.
Back to your college life at Harvard, you've created history. You're the first Indian to make it to the president of Harvard Business School. How did that come about? How did you sell yourself to the students there? How did it happen?
So I hope they elected me not because I was Indian, but because they thought I was a good candidate and I would do what the manifesto that we developed and put forth said. The one thing that I am fond of, perhaps a little too much, is challenging status quo.
Okay.
And I think that's just, whether it was school or college or it's reflective in what our business is today, I think that's all that we do. We challenge status quo, hopefully to improve things, to
So
make
you
them
weren't
better.
surprised when you made the president of Harvard Business School?
Oh, I was surprised. I was like, who would elect me? Why?
Okay, you've been the president at Harvard Business School. You said you were the Students' Union at the Sri Ram College of Commerce. Politics clearly has been a big part of your life. I mean, so far you said 4 generations of your family been in the public space. You've never considered this as an alternative career, perhaps something that you might look at after?
Look, these are all who knows, right? How
Never
life
say
evolves. But I think right now I'm focused on my teaching,
Okay.
doing what I do at Xander, doing what we are doing at Virtuous Retail, creating these communities, creating these spaces, urban regeneration, which is a very large part of what you hope to be able to do if you were in politics. So if I'm able to, in my own little way, be able to do it without having the framework of politics and being able to do it successfully with the set of investors we have, with the partners we have in India, right? Why aspire to things that I know nothing about? This is what I know. This is what I'm happy doing.
Okay, you'll probably roll your eyes when I ask you this question because it's been asked so many times. That, you know, the $11 million donation with the one, on the 11th day of the month at, in 2011. Is this just a coincidence, or are you a spiritual person? Are you a superstitious person? What was the reason that you chose this 11-11-11 figure?
It's the Indian in me coming out. I think some part of it is just become overlaid by people who wanted to create a story, I guess. The one after the 11 is a very Indian tradition. It's considered good luck.
But 11th November 2011 at 11:11 a.m. if I'm not wrong.
As I said, that is, maybe with 11 seconds of, it's not something that I kind of planned or did, or, I don't know how that story became what it became. I think the simple thing that we did was, the thought process behind that was to be able to, in the tradition of, in the Indian tradition of giving back, I think I wanted to show my gratefulness to the institution that enabled me to do things that I didn't think were going to be possible. And so the one is a token, an auspicious token. It's supposed to be a token for good luck. It's actually the tradition of the one, which we don't know in India perhaps or have forgotten, is really that a gift made with a one at the end signifies another cycle of good luck and additional gifts that might accrue to the person receiving that gift.
Yeah, I want to move away from spirituality. Tell me more about who said yogis at work. In the words of one of your former colleagues, I'm guessing you know who I'll be talking about. He said, you're as bright as you're aggressive, so you may have rubbed off people the wrong way while you're working, but not one person could fault you with your work. So is it this aggression that has really led to the success?
We've all been 25 years old, right?
Long
I think
ago.
the colleague you're talking about saw me when I was 22 or 23 or whatever it was. I think we all mellow with experience. I hope I have as well. Look, as I mentioned again, I try and follow 2 or 3 principles. One is I do want to challenge status quo, and that oftentimes is seen as being difficult. It's not about being difficult. It is, I think, about saying that just because this was acceptable yesterday, does it necessarily mean? And sometimes it is, and sometimes it isn't, right? And I don't think that that in itself is anything that one should be afraid of doing. A. B. There's an old saying, perfection is our goal, excellence will be tolerated. So I do think that adage is something that I care deeply about.
Okay.
I don't believe in the 80%.
On that note, we'll take a quick break, but stay tuned, we'll be right back. If you are not a private equity player, what would you be? What is an alternative career you ever thought of? Anything ridiculous, we all harbor strange dreams when we're younger.
A TV talk show host.
Wow, you won my job.
There you go.
CNBC TV 18 Weekender. CNBC TV 18 Weekender.
Welcome back. We're in conversation with the founder of Xander Group, Siddharth Yog. Siddharth, what has been your biggest learning so far in your, 2-decade-old career?
Wow, so many learnings. I don't think I could pin down just one.
Okay.
But if there was one learning that I would say has been out of all of the others that would take precedence, it would be to follow your own heart.
All right. We know you as, a professor at Harvard, a private equity player, a co-founder of a big, large fund. What else are you passionate about? Who's Siddharth Yog outside of his work?
I love the movies. That's my downtime, I guess.
I see.
I love reading. Being the son of a professor of English literature, poetry and reading, I think, are two things that I absolutely adore.
So since you love poetry, could you recite something for us?
Oops.
Or any favorite quotation, anything short?
Sure, no. So one of my favorite poems is H.W. Longfellow's The Psalm of Life. And if you permit, I will recite you a few lines. Tell me not in mournful numbers, life is but an empty dream. For the soul is dead that slumbers, and things are not what they seem. Life is real, life is earnest, and the grave is not its goal. Dust thou art, to dust returnest, was not spoken of the soul.
Wow, that's beautiful.
Thank you.
Okay, 5
it's Longfellow.
Okay, 5 years from now, down the line, where do you see yourself, both if you were to look professionally and personally?
The thing that one can do is live in the moment. I think we spend too much of our lives planning for what life might be or should be 5 years later, 10 years later, 15 years later. I have no idea. I think it's a wonderful surprise. I hope that it will be a wonderful surprise and one that you take head on. And whatever life has to offer, I think will be something that I will cherish and relish and live in the moment.
Is there any mistake from the past you'd want to correct? Is there something that you regret?
Being aggressive when I was 24?
All right, if you were not a private equity player, what would you be? What is an alternative career you ever thought of? Anything ridiculous? We all harbor strange dreams when we're younger.
A TV talk show host.
Wow, you won my job.
There you go.
Okay. The last question I want to ask you is, obviously when we work hard in a career, you're a self-driven man, what is the legacy you'd want to leave behind for everyone? What would be the Siddharth Yog legacy?
So let me answer that in two parts. The first, let me quote you another poem, right?
Okay.
Which is an anonymous poet, but the poem is called The Guy in the Glass. And it goes somewhat like this. And I'll just quote you 2 stanzas rather than going the whole poem. When you get what you want in your struggle for pelf, and the world makes you king for a day, then go to the mirror and look at yourself and see what that guy has to say. For it isn't your father, your mother, your husband or wife upon whose judgment you must pass. The fella whose verdict matters most in your life is the guy staring back from that glass. You may fool the whole world down the pathway of years and get pats on your back as you pass, but your final reward will be heartaches and tears if you've cheated the guy in the glass. So to summarize, if I could draw from that poem, my only hope is I haven't cheated the guy in the glass. That is the most important thing to me.
Lovely to hear that. Thank you so much for your time. It was a pleasure speaking with you.
Thanks very much.
Many thanks for joining us on this weekend from all of us here at CNBC TV 18. It's a goodbye. Have a great weekend.
CNBC TV 18 Weekender.